Hello, thank you for joining me to learn how to do some of your Dart manipulations in Adobe Illustrator. You can begin by going to the Dart manipulation lesson in either week 1 or week 2 in the course. And under this lesson, you can see that you have a file here that will give you the basic sloper set at size 8 for you to begin to work with on this. Just click on it and it will automatically put it into your downloads folder. Once you have that in your downloads folder, you can go ahead and launch your Illustrator and then open that file. That's what we have here. Now we're going to do a couple little things to get set up before we get into actually demonstrating a Dart manipulation. These Dart manipulations will focus on the front bodice, so we do not need the back bodice in this series. But before we make any changes, because I want you to keep this file as your template file, let's do a save as immediately. Do save as. Make sure that you change the name of this to your assignment. So Dart manipulation, and then put your name or initials in that file name. And click save. All right. So that would preserve the original size 8 bodice. And now we have our new working file for the assignment. Get your selection arrow. Select the back bodice. Everything's grouped together on that. Once you have it selected, click delete. We don't need that for now. And you can see we have extra artboard space here. We also, though, will be needing 3 more of our front bodice to complete all 4 for the assignment. Now, of course, these 3 will not fit on this artboard. I'm going to show you how you can make multiple artboards, and we'll go ahead and size them as we need them. Under your layers panel, in case you don't see it over here, the 2 layers stacked together, you can go to Window and go to either layers or artboards. They're both in the same panel. They're just different little tabs up here on the top of the panel. So under Artboard 1, let's go ahead and double click the little icon out here, click it, and we will go ahead and adjust our measurements on this. I'd like for you to make it 14 inches wide by 20 inches tall, and we will click OK for now. You can also see that our pattern piece is a little bit off the board, so we'll go ahead and get that moved on the board over here. And I'm kind of looking to try to set this piece on the grid so that I can have this corner right at the corner of an intersection here, maybe over just a little bit. There we go. I'm kind of getting precise, but that will come in handy here in a minute. Another thing that we can do is put our type right up here on our artboard. So we will click. Now it comes out very small. It defaults at a 12 point. You can go ahead and increase that to 40 or 60 points on that. Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and make mine 48. And this will be the center front waist dart. All right. Once I have that typed in there, I can click, and if I need to move that around, I can just up into the shoulder, corner. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out. I'm using my keyboard shortcut of Z. Hold down my Alt or Option key, depending on what computer I'm using, and zoom out a little bit, maybe one more there. All right. Now, to create multiple artboards, we have 2 different options. I'll show you one way, and then I'll show you another. In the artboard panel, you can click, just like you do for a new layer, a new artboard. And it'll say artboard 2. But now you have to copy all of these items here. So one way you can do that is to, actually we'll do it up here, click and drag. Now I can move that there. Whoops, I did not mean to do it like that. Click, hold down the Alt-Option key, now drag. When I do that, I have a copy. For the bodice, I can also do it with my keyboard arrows. I can hold down my Shift key, hold down my Alt-Option key to make the copy, and click with my right keyboard arrow one time. All right, that has made my copy and moved it to the right. I am now only going to hold down my Shift key and then use my right arrow key. This way I do not continue to make copies, but I will continue to move my front, keeping it level by using my arrows sets and straight over to the next artboard. Now, another way to repeat an artboard is to actually just duplicate one, and up here in the right hand corner in your artboard panel you have a choice to duplicate an artboard. When you do that, whatever artwork is on the first one, it copies it to the next one. So now that I have done that, I'm actually going to make another duplicate. Now I have my front duplicated several times. I do have the same name up here, so I can double click into my type and then rename them for the different Dart manipulations we need to do. Okay, I'm using my Command or Control key real quick to change to my selection arrow. This one will be my side dart. And over here, this one will be my side and waist dart. Okay. All right, so I've got all of these set up. I can go in here and also rename my artboards according to what's on that artboard too. That will also help me remember what's on there. Okay. And once I've done that, I won't go through all of that right now on the video. We'll move into actually doing our manipulation. You can go along though and change all of yours here in a minute. So the tools that we will be using will be our selection tool, pen tool, adding a point pen tool, our scissors tool, and rotate tool. So I'm going to use my selection tool first. I'm going to select my bodice. Everything is grouped together, so when I click inside this area, I am getting all the different parts of that bodice, everything from the type and the grain line and bust point. Under Object, I can go down to Ungroup. Now that will make it so that each part is its own entity and not all together. I'm going to select the bodice, the main part, and I'm going to remove the fill on it while I work on it. All right. The first one here at center front waist, I already have a point, an anchor point right down here, so I do not need to add a point, but I do need to cut it there. Underneath our eraser tool, if I click and hold, I will get my scissors tool, and I want to cut this down here at that point. Now I'm going to use my direct select tool, click away from everything for a moment, and just click on one dart leg. When I click on that one segment of the whole path, I can delete that one. Now I need to click away from everything and then select the second dart leg and delete it. If you happen to go for a delete and the whole outline deleted on you, that would mean that you forgot to deselect and reselect only that dart leg. All right, so I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here so you can see what we're getting ready to do. So basically, just like in the book, you would have a line drawn from your bust point down to where our new dart would open up, closing our old dart, if you recall this process. But we don't need to draw those. We have actually cut them, so it's kind of an invisible line. But I do need to use my direct select tool in order to select these points. I'm holding down my Shift key to select that second one on this segment. Now with this segment selected, that's the one I need to rotate. I will be rotating from my bust point. Here is my rotate tool. When I click on it, the rotate tool will always default. Can you see that kind of turquoise green target right down here? It will always default to the center of whatever selected item you have. But one click, single click, and I can move my rotate axis point or pivot point right up here to my bust point. That's the first step of rotate. Second, I'm going to come down here with my cursor, get closer to the line I want to move over. I'm going to click, hold, and drag, and I'm swinging it closer to close this up. You can see that there is some slight discrepancy there, but I will go ahead and let go of that. I'm going to go back to my selection arrow, so just this little segment is selected. I'm going to use my keyboard arrows to kind of line it up, but I can still see that I have a somewhat of a gap right here. It's okay. I actually want it very close, but a little bit of space like that. I'm using my direct select arrow, the white selection arrow, and I'm click and dragging my marquee around both of these little end points, and I'm going to join them. Once I have those two selected, I can go to Object, Path. I need to average them into the same spot in space first. Just use both. Click OK. Now they're still two individual points. They're stacked one on top of the other. I can go to Path, Join. Remember, you have to average first, then join. Now I'm going to zoom out, keyboard shortcut Z, and I did my Alt Option key to go back out. Now I am using my pen tool at this point to add onto my open spot here to make my new dart. I'm going to get close to this point. You can see I get my slash for add onto. I will click to continue on with that path. I'm going to use the center point on my bust point indicator for my dart point, and then come down here to this last point at the waist, and notice the cursor changes to a circle next to the pen. That means I'm closing the entire path, and I will click. Now I have a closed path. Remember, our dart points do not end right on the bust point. We actually need to move that off of there. I can't move it with my pen tool. I need to get my direct select tool, single click on that point so it's my active point. Now I can click and hold, and I'm dragging, and I'm moving it about 5/8 of an inch away from the bust point for my dart point. There we go. Let's zoom out now. We have transferred that dart from the waist over to the center front. You can recognize this shape perhaps. Another thing I'm going to do is shorten my grain line. I can select that one point at the end. I'm using my keyboard shortcuts to move that point up and out of the way so that it is out of the way. Now to refresh ourselves on adding our seam allowance around here, use your selection tool, select that outer path for the bodice, the new shaped bodice. We can fill that back in with white, making sure that it did not cover anything up. We can make sure our boundary on that is 2 points. That will work just fine. Okay, I'm going to select it one more time and go to Object, Path, Offset Path, and we want 0.5 for 1/2 an inch seam allowance on that. You may have to type that in, and I will click OK, and it puts it to the outside edge of that. I should be able to then select the original inside shape of my pattern. That's my stitching line. I can come over here to my stroke panel. If you do not see the icon over here, go to View and select it. I'm going to select the dashed line option here. I'll leave it default at 12 points, 12 gap. That gives me my dotted line for my stitch line. All right. On these, we will just go ahead and do seam allowance down center front. I can show you in a later point how to remove that if you want a front on center fold. But down here we also might want to move this end right off of the edge there. It's just the way that the computer decides to offset this stroke. I need to select both of these points. I use my Shift key to get both of them in the selection, and I am clicking and dragging. I'll keep one edge of it. I'm going to go beyond about 4 of those boxes. Keep one edge in line. Notice this one angled out some, so I will just use that one point. Now I'm using my keyboard arrows to kind of bring it in, sort of visually adjusting that. There we go. Now I can zoom out one more time. And with my selection arrow, I can click, and as long as I'm touching somewhere on all the parts of that bodice, the words, the dart point, the notch, the bust point, the grain line, all of it, both of my lines here, I can regroup them. Object, group. So there is one pattern completed. I'll do another demonstration video, but I'll break it up so that time-wise you can see that. I'll do 2 demonstration videos, and then the other 2 bodices I'll have you work on your own trying to accomplish those. Well, good luck with anything, and if you have any questions, please just email me or text me.